At 11, protesters on the peninsula tonight calling for action after recent mass shootings. What they want from President Trump.
I have a 2-year-old son and we want him to have his grandma around a little longer.
Plus, an emotional plea from a Gilroy family after a suspected thief snags their backpack. What's inside that's so valuable, and the promise from police.
Plus, they say never turn your back on the sea. The reason why, all caught on camera tonight. What was behind this tidal wave?
And we've got some warmer weather on the way for some areas. I'll let you know where coming up.
This is KION News Channel 546 at 11.
The time for talking is over. The time for action began today.
Yeah, passionate statement from Texas Governor Greg Abbott today after meeting with state leaders about finding a solution to mass shooters. He also set aside $5 million for the El Paso relief effort. Thanks for being here. I'm Aaron Groff.
And I'm Amanda Gomez. The cities where these tragedies happen want to see more done on a larger scale. Protesters in both El Paso and Dayton were there to greet President Trump as he paid a visit to their cities.
He doesn't care. If he cared, he would do something about it. But he doesn't.
His hateful rhetoric and then him having, I can't even believe he said hate has no home here.
We need the president here. People don't realize he's bringing resources here our community needs to rebuild.
Trump said today he's open to talking about some aspects of gun control legislation like background checks, but it's unclear if Congress can reach a consensus. The House previously passed 2 gun control bills, but the Senate has not voted on either one.
President Trump also visited Dayton today, where 9 people were killed in another mass shooting that weekend. Here's the president and the First Lady meeting at the hospital with first responders and some of the victims of that early Sunday morning attack. He also met with Dayton's mayor, who said President Trump did not commit to any new effort.
Well, I mean, he just uses words that don't really mean anything. So we're going to do something, because I was really like, Mr. President, we need to see action. We need to see something done on gun control, specifically on gun control. We're going to do something.
That was his response.
Yes.
She says they unsuccessfully discussed assault weapons, red flag laws, and mental health, but only praised the president for doing a good job comforting the victims at the hospital. President Trump also facing pushback here on the Central Coast. KION's Alicia Machado was at a rally in Monterey today, one of many across the nation after these recent mass shootings. She joins us now with what the demonstrators want. Alicia.
Aaron, Amanda, demonstrators say they wanted to take a stand against hateful and racist rhetoric, including white supremacism. And after the El Paso shooting, the group wants government leaders to take action protecting the country against the violent acts.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. White supremacy has got to go.
A call to action in Monterey Wednesday against white supremacist ideologies. Demonstrators gathered together at Window on the Bay for an event hosted by the local Women's March chapter, targeting hate and racism.
I think the number one thing that needs to be done is to stop spewing hatred from positions of power. We want to end white supremacy. We are people of privilege, and it's our responsibility to stand up and say, stop this now.
Their messages Wednesday night were aimed at President Trump, who they say is contributing to what they're trying to stop. While they were met with honks of support, other drivers shouted in favor of the president. This comes just days after a deadly mass shooting in El Paso, Texas, where the suspected killer is believed to have written an anti-immigrant manifesto. The attack sent shockwaves across the nation and right here on the Central Coast. Monterey resident Colleen Anderson grew up in El Paso. With family still there, this issue weighs heavily on her heart.
It's really sad. It's heartbreaking. My sister could have been at that Walmart.
Her family members are safe, but demonstrators want action from Congress to prevent future gun violence, including background checks, something President Trump has said he supports.
I think background checks are important. I don't want to put guns into the hands of mentally unstable people or people with rage or hate. Sick people.
But demonstrators say further action is needed to ban weapons like those used in the El Paso and Dayton shootings.
AR-15s are a war weapon, and they're only used to kill multiple people, and that's how they've been used in this country, is to wipe out crowds of people, including little children.
Congressman Jimmy Panetta is one of more than 200 Democratic members who signed this letter right here to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, demanding he call the Senate back in session to vote on gun violence prevention legislation. No word yet on if the Senate will reconvene. Back to you.
All right, Alicia, thank you. And a warning about donation scams in the wake of these mass shootings. According to the Department of Homeland Security's cyber agency, here are 3 things you should consider to avoid becoming a victim. Number 1, research the charities or campaigns yourself and be sure you know where your money is going. Next, be careful when opening email attachments. And finally, beware of fake accounts and donation ads on social media. We're going to continue to follow this story as it develops and we learn more. You can follow along online and on our KION 546 news app. And as people in Gilroy continue to mourn the tragedy there, we have new information tonight about those who left their cars at Christmas Hill Park. The FBI has finished its crime scene investigation, but the park will still be closed for several more weeks. And tonight we're learning if you need to pick up your car, there will no longer be shuttles. That starts tomorrow. Instead, go to Uvas Park Drive at Miller Avenue and coordinate with retrieval with on-site security there. If you still need to claim items you may have left during the shooting, you need to go to the Wheeler Community Center on West 6th Street in Gilroy. The center will be open through Friday from 11 until 7 o'clock. There are also counselors and the American Red Cross on scene to help. And drop-in counseling services are available as well for anyone at Gilroy High School and Brownell Middle School. They are also open until Friday from 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock. The Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors will honor the Gilroy shooting victims at their meeting next week. They will adjourn their August 13th meeting to honor Kayla Salazar, Trevor Irby, and Stephen Romero. Following that, there will be a flag-raising ceremony. That meeting starts at 9:45 a.m. at the Santa Clara County office.
We move to your crime alert now. A pair that police are calling thieves are behind bars tonight. Rosa Best and Francis Humes were discovered back in late July at the Monterey Airport. The Del Rey Oaks Police Department says they were trying to trade in a stolen car at a rental car service. A search of that car allegedly turned up drugs, money, a gun, and IDs of potential victims. Police say they've been involved in several burglaries and credit card fraud incidents. Also tonight, federal prosecutors charged 32 people who sold drugs in a San Francisco neighborhood as part of an international operation. The DEA says most of the dealers were from Honduras, but the rings stretched from Mexico to Seattle. The agency says people went into the Bay Area daily to sell these drugs. A man convicted of more than 24 rapes in the 80s was denied parole at a hearing today. Decades ago, he was sentenced to 406 years in prison, but because of a new law, he could have been set free. 58-year-old George Anthony Sanchez, known as the ski mask rapist, was found guilty of 25 rapes before he was 26 years old. The state granted him youthful offender status, which made him eligible for the parole hearing through the elderly parole program. Sanchez is housed at the correctional training facility in Soledad.
Covering Santa Cruz, a hazmat team surrounded the Santa Cruz jail today. An inmate and several officers were hospitalized after an inmate is believed to have swallowed drugs during a pod search. That search happened before 11 o'clock this morning. The inmate was released after showing no symptoms, but hours later, the correctional officers had signs of chemical disorder. The sheriff's office tells KION they do not know how these officers were connected to the search. They are all released or ready to be released, but hazmat crews remained outside the jail while the Department of Justice works to identify a substance in question. Gilroy police are searching for a person responsible for stealing a backpack from a restaurant, and it's what's inside that bag that is drawing attention. The woman who it belongs to said her life-saving cancer medication is inside. This happened Tuesday night. The woman was heading to a doctor's appointment when her family stopped for food. The backpack was accidentally left on the table, and by the time they realized it and went back, it was gone. Police say surveillance video shows the suspect sat down, and when he was done eating, police say he grabbed that bag and left. The family says they're desperate for that medication.
You can keep the purse, you can keep the money, just return all the contents back to us and do something right for a woman that just has such a kind heart. It doesn't deserve this.
If you recognize this man, police say to call them. If you know him, ask him to turn that medication in either to them or a local hospital. No questions asked. Covering Salinas now, the city is trying to combat a multi-million-dollar deficit over the next 10 years, which, if left unchecked, could leave the city in big trouble. The city is looking at an increase in deficits exceeding $10 million a year by fiscal year 2027. City staff says the Salinas plan would help them stay fiscally solvent, maintain core services, and identify additional money to address housing issues. The city says it's tough to project revenues and deficits over 10 years, but they're trying to stay ahead of things. Staff will present their progress on that plan to the council next Tuesday.
A racist tweet directed at a high school coach in Salinas is now being called a prank. It surfaced on social media concerning parents, and while the district says there's no threat, police are calling it a teaching moment.
Parents have a responsibility to be watchful and monitor, what their children are into as far as social media contact.
The Twitter account was quickly removed, but at the time it read, quote, "I love Hitler and President Trump" in the bio, and then a racist tweet with a believed picture of a coach at Alvarez High School says, "I hate black people." Given the recent tragedies, parents were concerned about the content.
It can hurt other people, and it could lead to something horrific like what you've seen in the news these days.
Once officers and the school decided the post was not a real threat, they informed parents. Turns out students admitted to making the fake account. The principal says those kids expressed remorse, but their actions are reprehensible. Hundreds of Central Coast students, though, went back to class today. First day of school is an exciting time, but Salinas police have a warning for parents that just because it's crowded and you're only dropping off or picking up your kid, you do need to be aware of rules in the school zone. Police tell us that drivers can be cited for stopping at a curb in a red zone, stopping in the middle of a road, or in a bike lane.
I think it is dangerous because it's like one of these days you guys are going to be like either like looking somewhere else, and then the kids are crossing by, you guys don't see the lights, and then boom, you're going to like run over a student or something.
Citations were already given out this afternoon at Everett Alvarez High School. Police say heavy enforcement near school zones will continue through the week.
And now, Chief Meteorologist Dan Siaka with your Weather Authority forecast.
All right, many kids already headed back to school. I know some districts in Salinas and Monterey will be attending tomorrow. And here's what your kids can expect on the way out the door. Temperatures in the 8 a.m. hour in the upper 50s. Mostly cloudy skies, a little bit misty out there. Perhaps a little patchy fog also in some of our inland areas and up in the hills. By lunchtime, we'll see the sun start to make its way back through, and we'll see partly cloudy to mostly sunny skies for the rest of the day, and temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. Should be a pretty nice day for the kids out there around the Central Coast. Now, here's a look at the big picture right now. Big ridge of high pressure off to our southeast. That's our monsoonal high, but it's the strengthening trough of low pressure here on the west coast that has been a little bit more impactful on our weather, in the way that it has helped deepen our marine layer. So without high pressure pushing down on the marine layer, it allows it to expand upward and really inland. And that's why we saw cooler temperatures for our inland cities today. Widespread low clouds in the inland cities this morning. But once that sun came out this afternoon and started to clear us out, we saw some good mixing, and our coastal areas actually warmed up a bit. What can you expect for the rest of the week and into the weekend? Well, I'll tell you exactly what in the full forecast coming up.
Dan, thank you. Back to school, though. Some kids still have a few more days of summer left. Here's a list of some schools that'll be heading back to class a little later this month. Next round is on the 12th, and then later this month, Santa Cruz districts return on or around August 27th. For a full list, go to our website, KION546.com.
A powerful wave sweeps people off their feet in China. The whole thing caught on camera.
Plus, a woman has an unfortunate run-in with sea life on a fishing trip.
And an unusual house targeted by neighbors. Why they believe its unique paint job is an act of revenge.
The family of a famous scientist paid a visit to the Central Coast, eager to share a story that she feels will connect with many of us. Marine researcher Jacques Cousteau's granddaughter, Celine, is premiering a documentary here called Tribes on the Edge. It's about how the Amazon rainforest has an impact on the air we breathe in the United States.
We're completely tied to their survival. Where there are indigenous people in the Brazilian Amazon, there's no deforestation. Considering the Amazon provides 20% of our oxygen, we depend on that for our very breath.
Cousteau says people are chopping down parts of the rainforest illegally, and the only thing stopping them from chopping down even more are those indigenous tribes who she says are dealing with issues of their own.
Principally malaria and hepatitis. This comes from Beto Marubo, from the Marubo tribe, who asked me to tell their story. He said, my generation will disappear from these diseases.
The film will have a free screening Friday night at the Hidden Valley Theater in Carmel Valley at 7 o'clock, followed by a question and answer session.
One woman's attempt to take a picture with an octopus totally sucked.
Huh.
It had barreled its beak into my chin. I will never do it again.
Well, luckily she's okay. As you heard there, not only did it stick to her face, but it bit her. The bite was venomous, but the woman was in the middle of a fishing derby, so she stuck it out. Tough woman. Powered through and eventually saw a doctor 2 days later. Ouch.
Might want to do that sooner.
Yes. All right, caught on camera here. Watching the waves roll along a river in China was not the peaceful experience expected. A surprise tidal wave came up and swept 5 people off their feet. Experts say an astronomical tide and typhoons are contributing to the strong waves on the river. Oh boy.
You know, you've heard that phrase tidal wave for a long time, right? People have always said tidal wave. Oftentimes maybe they mean tsunami or just a huge wave, but that is actually a legitimate tidal wave. That's what it is. It's a tidal bore.
Now we know what it looks
rivers during a high and low or high tide. It's pretty crazy. You got to be careful.
Yeah, very technical. It doesn't just mean big wave.
Right. No. There's a reason for it in that case, that the high tide was coming in. So scary stuff.
Do we have tidal waves here?
Do we have
today and then the forecast?
Nothing, no. I mean, things looking pretty nice out there. A live look from Domenico's on the Wharf in Monterey tonight reveals a nice evening for the most part. We're looking nice out there. A few high clouds passing through. Haven't seen those full low clouds develop just yet. In fact, at sunset, this is what it looked like in North Salinas. You can only see a few high clouds out there. It was really pretty out there. Highs today, the hot spot was a tie between Lockwood and Parkfield, both coming in at 96 degrees. Hollister, 79. Santa Cruz returning to the mid-70s today. Salinas, 71. Monterey, upper 60s. And Moss Landing and Carmel Highlands tied as our cool spot at 64. But considering it was 58 in Carmel Highlands yesterday, that's a nice warm-up. You have the sun to thank for that coming out, or perhaps the absence of clouds to thank for that, as those clouds did mix out today. Temperature-wise tonight, we are close to 60 degrees or so around the bay. It's mild. It's a little breezy here in Salinas. Inland and up in the hills, it's a little bit warmer at the moment, but otherwise a mild evening. We have a couple of high clouds passing through, and as far as the low clouds are concerned, the only place I can see a few are the Carmel Valley area around the peninsula and over toward the east side of Salinas. So very small and patchy in nature are those low clouds so far. They should redevelop and thicken up overnight. Futurecast is showing that first around the bay and then into our interior valleys overnight. And that may appear as some fog, so watch out for some areas of lowered visibility. I know I say that a lot this time of year, but it is going to be the case again tomorrow. So please be careful out there on your way to work or school. By lunchtime tomorrow, that's noon. We're seeing a few low clouds on the south and east sides of the bay, but mostly clear skies across the rest of our viewing area, okay? So lots of sunshine by then. And those low clouds on the south side of the bay, they'll be hit or miss later on in the day. So we'll have a little sunshine sneaking through a few low clouds out there. But all in all, another nice day, just like we saw today. High clouds will arrive later on in the day, so that should make for a nice sunset. Keep your cameras handy for some fire in the sky tomorrow night. It should be a nice one. As for your temps, Santa Cruz will bump you up 1 more degree to 76 tomorrow. I did up these temps a little bit for our late evening broadcast. So if you saw them earlier, I have increased my highs a little bit. 71 in Capitola, 79 in Felton and Scotts Valley, 84 tomorrow in Boulder Creek and Bonnie Doon, back in the 80s tomorrow. Watsonville coming in at 73, mid-70s in Aptos, Prunedale at 69, 71 in Salinas, almost 80 in Hollister, and 86 tomorrow in Gilroy. Back toward the Bayshore, how about a 68 in Marina? That'll feel warm to you there. Monterey tomorrow, 68 degrees. Same in Seaside and Carmel, and a pair of 66s out toward the points. And farther south, highs away from the coast, not too bad, not too hot for this time of year, but closer down the Salinas Valley. We're in the 70s, Carmel Valley 70s, Big Sur in the 70s, and then our usual hot spots staying in the 90s tomorrow. Okay, let's look forward into time. Coastal temps staying pretty warm. In fact, we'll warm up a couple more degrees on Friday on the coast, and then we'll stay around there or so through the weekend into early next week. So some fairly warm temperatures, mostly sunny skies, morning low clouds, afternoon sun, really for the next 7 days. Should be a beautiful stretch here on the coast. And inland cities, your normal high this time of year, 86, so we'll be below that for the next several days. But the high pressure ridge will edge back in, highs back above normal by Monday and Tuesday, and staying there through midweek next week under mostly sunny skies. Here's a quick look at your marine forecast. Just want to point out that tidal information. And while no tidal waves are expected tomorrow, you got 2 high tides, one at 6:05 a.m. and one at 5:50 p.m. And those numbers are for the Moss Landing area.
Fun fact, Dan, my high school nickname, the High Tides. That is what the school was called.
Cool.
The High Tides.
High Tides.
We were a time of day.
Tidal air. I'm going to start calling you something like that.
Oh boy. Thanks, Dan.
All right, it's that time of the week again. Time to bring you some good news on this Wednesday.
We're going to start with a big bicycle victory. Egan Bernal was declared the Tour de France champion back in late July, and today he was welcomed home to Colombia with cheers and a round of applause. Only 22 years old, and he's the first Colombian to take home the title. Also the youngest winner in over a century. He is a phenom. His win is impressive too. He finished more than a minute ahead of last year's champion. Fun fact though, you might recognize that name because he was also the winner of the 2018 Amgen Tour of California.
Very cool. Good for him. All right, check this out now. After a decade of planning the nation's first underwater Veterans Memorial, it is open off the coast of Florida.
Yeah, very unique, very cool.
Pretty cool.
It features 12 life-size statues representing the men and women who served in the U.S. Armed Forces, the Air Force, the Army, the Coast Guard, Marines, and Navy. An additional 12 statues now are set to be installed next year to complete the 100-foot, they're calling it Circle of Heroes.
Amazing. Take a look at these little guys now. Red Panda parents Randy and Kate welcomed triplets back in July. Oh my goodness.
These little guys are cute, huh?
So cute. The Cubs are not ready for their debut just yet, as they still need to spend a little time with mom and dad and be named. They're still too young.
My favorite thing with pandas is watching them sort of roll down hills, get them in some snow.
I love the little cubs too, the babies.
Yeah, more of that, please.
Yes.
Could always use more.
Still to come here, more political trouble in Puerto Rico as the territory cycles through its third governor in less than a week.
Plus, if you're trying to lose weight, there's actually a best time of the day to work out to do so. What the experts say is next.
Welcome back. We want to warn you, this video may be disturbing. A horrifying sight in China here. A 3-year-old was run over by a car twice while she was playing in the driveway. She is doing well tonight. Amazingly, she only had some cuts and leg injuries. Thank goodness.
Terrifying video there. Juana Vazquez is the new governor of Puerto Rico, making her the island's third in less than a week. She was sworn in today after the island Supreme Court concluded that the governorship of Pedro Pierluisi was unconstitutional. But Vazquez has been on the record as saying she was not interested in becoming governor. And just like Ricardo Rossello, Vazquez has also been criticized in the protests that forced Rossello to step down. We now have a list of the best and worst airports in the United States. Why some earned that spot.
Plus, emojis are everywhere these days. But what about on a house? The battle over this unique paint job and why neighbors are not happy about it. In your health alert, the time of day you work out could help in your weight loss journey. Experts say if you want to maximize your potential to lose weight, go to the gym before noon. They say going earlier helps because you're more refreshed and you have more energy. But what if you're not a morning person or you work early? Nutritionists say don't let that discourage you. Consider going at night and making it a part of your routine.
It's really good for our shift.
Yes.
Not getting to work until 3 o'clock.
Yes, it's so helpful.
It's good for us. Well, traveling is not the most fun. And it's only made worse when you're met by long lines and delayed flights. A new list gave out awards for the worst, but also the best airports. We're going to have a little bit of positivity here. At the top of the list for the best airports, Phoenix's Sky Harbor, Portland, Hartsfield in Atlanta, and Sacramento. It's based on factors like on-time arrivals and the weather. Chicago Midway, at the bottom, they recommend filling out surveys about your experiences, especially if they're not good ones.
Emojis are basically their own language. You can use them to express anything, but now they're drawing the attention of one Southern California neighborhood because they're painted on a house. Take a look. The reaction to this Manhattan Beach house has been so strong that neighbors took their complaints to City Council, trying to have them force the owner to repaint the home.
I think it's really a chilling effect to the law that somebody who gets shut down is going to have retribution like this.
The emojis went up in May after the homeowner had to pay fines when 2 neighbors complained the house was illegally being used as a short-term rental. Neighbors say the emojis are a public nuisance and an act of retaliation. They're also worried the emojis will bring down property values.
Interesting there. Well, just ahead, a special delivery for a hungry kid and the heroes who came to the rescue.
Plus, I've got your weather photo of the day and a personalized forecast. That's all coming up. And here is your Toyota gas report. Take a look at some of these lowest prices from various select spots across the Central Coast. This info is powered by GasBuddy.com. We're back after this.
Finally here, 3 cops came to the rescue of a young boy who called 911 because he was hungry. They did talk to him about when you should and shouldn't call 911, but they also ordered him a pizza and delivered that pizza special to him. So that's adorable.
Important lesson, too.
So many ideas now.
I know.
All right, Dan. Picture for us.
Take a look at this beautiful shot, a recent sunset from Natural Bridges State Beach, sent in by Aaron Rosenbaum. Beautiful shots. Look at the color of that. Here's your forecast. Natty Bridges tomorrow, looking at mostly sunny skies and a high of 70. Looks awesome.
Yeah, fantastic picture, too. Set for us at 11.